You could just give a little bit of background. You could start with your transition from high school to college and what you studied, and then we'll go from there.
Yes. So I think I waited maybe a year,
Mhm.
or at least a couple semesters. So maybe it was at least one semester, we'll say. But I didn't jump right into it because I just didn't know what I wanted to do. And so then once I finally enrolled, I lasted every bit of 2 semesters of college.
Mhm.
And it just wasn't for me. I literally could not sit in class without falling asleep.
Yeah.
I'm go, 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 go. And I wanted to pursue a degree in nursing. And so I remember taking anatomy and physiology and
Mhm.
thinking, oh man, college is going to be a breeze because I knew all the muscles. And so the first part of the class I aced.
Mhm.
Then we got to the nervous system and the skeletal system, and I was like, oh shit, I got to study now. And so
Mhm.
that was the short and sweet of my college career.
Nice.
Yes.
Okay. So what did you do before you started college? You said you kind of waited a bit to see what you wanted to do. How did you
Yeah.
kind of figure that out?
Um, I didn't figure it out. I just knew the thing that you had to do was go to college, have a degree so that you could become successful.
Mm.
And so for me, it was, you know, nursing was kind of a low-hanging fruit. I
Mm.
thought, okay, I can go to college, I can make like 60 grand a year. There's very few male nurses, so I'll be high demand
Mm.
and it'll be easy for me to land a job. And that was literally my plan for college. Yeah.
All right. And so what did you do after you decided like that was not it?
So I just started really putting some thought into what it is I wanted to do. And I've always wanted to help people.
Mm.
And, at that point in my life, I was pretty much just a dumb jock. So,
Mm.
it's like, all right, what can I do? What can I do? Oh, I'll go be a cop. And so
Mm.
I, um, I wasn't old enough to go to a PD yet. I was 19.
Mm.
So then, at the time I was living in Southeast Texas, and Southeast Texas now houses probably 20 to 30,000 inmates. And so they opened up a couple of farms, state prisons. And
Mm.
so I jumped into being a correctional officer for
Mm.
2 years. And the plan was be a correctional officer for 2 years and then go to a PD.
Mm.
And so that was my way of getting around the educational piece, was having the experience.
Mm.
Um, but then, 2 years into it, I found out really quick that Mike Tyson was the only person that was getting paid enough to fight every day. And I just knew that if I continued down that path, I would be one of the cops that would like
Mm.
probably be one of the ones that we see right now, right? That
Mm.
are getting the bad press. I just knew what my demons were. I knew what my ego was, and I just knew that wasn't the place for me to go.
That's awesome that you were able to realize that. How was that being a correctional officer for 2 years?
I was pretty much a dick. Can I say that?
Yeah, go
Oh,
ahead.
okay,
You got free reign.
you've got it. Okay, you got free reign.
Yeah, we're
I
here to
was,
hear your experiences and
yeah.
what you learned from them, and then, you know, everybody else can hopefully soak in the same and
Uh,
learn from you.
so for me, there's a lot of ego.
Mm.
At that point in my life, I was very insecure. I was a big dude. I was like 270, just yoked.
Mm.
And you take just a giant person like that with a lot of insecurities, it makes for just a big mess. And so, literally, it was me being just, 100-pound, 10-year-old boy inside that body.
Mm.
And when I didn't get what I wanted, or I didn't feel loved, or didn't feel enough, or didn't feel worthy, I acted out, but I had this giant 6'1", 270-pound body to do that.
Mm.
Um, and if you even look at kind of what's going on in the world today, I get both sides, the oppressed and the oppressor, both are leading in fear. And, being a correctional officer, I was on that side of the fence, right? And, there really wasn't a whole lot difference between me and the inmates. The difference was I got to leave at the end of 8 hours.
Mm.
And so I just found myself kind of, you know, being in that space of, if you're going to be with the wolves, you got to be a wolf.
Mm.
And I just knew that I would be completely consumed by my ego if I went that route. So I made a decision to go a different route and end up in sales.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So what happened, I guess, moving from there into sales? How did you even get into sales? And why did you
Sales
choose
was,
sales?
yeah, sales was pretty interesting. So at the time that I was a correctional officer, my girlfriend at the time, her roommate worked at an appliance and electronics store.
Mhm.
And so this is, the early 90s or so. And, every time we go to happy hour, these guys are picking up the tabs. They're all driving like the latest cool cars. They've all got the gold pinky rings. And I was
Mhm.
like, I want to do what these guys do. Because here I am making, 24 grand a year as a correctional officer. And so it turns out that, so one of the friends through that connection got promoted and got his own store. And he said, hey, come work for me. I said, great. So my girlfriend and I at
Mhm.
the time both applied as a salesperson, and the district manager said, you're not really cut out for sales. But we'll give you a job in the warehouse, and in 6 months we'll revisit and we'll see what's up then.
Mhm.
And my buddy was like, dude, I promise if you just come do this, I'll get you in 6 months into sales. Fast forward 6 months later, I moved into sales. And, the few years that I spent at that company, I was one of the top sales guys. Um, I always battled for one or two in the store at the end of each month. I made great money. I was really good at it. I learned a lot. Still have some mentors that I keep in contact with from back in those days.
Mhm.
And, that actually was my pathway into moving into the corporate space. Because fast forward into late 98, I moved to Austin, Texas
Mhm.
from the Southeast Texas area. And I remember a guy saying to me, you should just go to work at Dell. He's like, everyone at Dell's a millionaire, even the janitor. And I was like, okay, I'll go to work for Dell. So, I got there and I set a goal and I said, if I'm not the company I was working for, I said, if I'm not in sales inside of 6 months, I'm out.
Mhm.
And I literally had the GPS dialed into Dell. And 6 months later, I walked in the door. And May 10th of 1999, I started my corporate career as an inside sales rep. 1-800 call Dell, and I'm the dude that's answering a call on the other side.
Mhm.
Fast forward to working for all three of the large hardware companies, Dell, Lenovo, and HP, over the course of 21 years or so.
Mhm.
Um, I just left corporate on February 6th, I think was the day. So I am brand new into the full-time space of entrepreneurship, and life is beautiful.
Mhm. So what made you leave corporate and go into entrepreneurship?
Um, I was finally in a spot where I trusted myself and I knew versus thinking or believing. There's a lot of fear because, you know, coming from that backstory, pretty much every table I sat at, I was surrounded by MBAs, right? I was sitting across the table from C-level executives all the time.
Mhm.
And so I'd gotten very good at what I did. And so the comfort of staying there after I'd worked so hard to get there really kept me there. And it was a
Mhm.
fear of having to go out and do it all over again. And I just got to a point where I really understood that I built, literally the day one walking into Dell, um, my my first comp package was $32,000.
Mhm.
Walk in, leaving corporate, my comp package was $250,000. So I checked the boxes. I found the success, whatever you want to call it.
Mhm.
But that was all built in fear. Fear of not being enough, fear of not fitting in, fear of not being worthy. And so I just got to a point of just knowing who I am, knowing whose I am, and just going all in on me and recognizing that I can build something that is just absolutely amazing out of love. And
Mhm.
so through my own journey, 20 years in corporate, I learned to speak pretty well. I learned to water my gift. I learned to pluck the weeds and build my craft. And so it made a lot of sense that speaking would be the thing that I do because it is my gift. I've
Mhm.
recognized it and so I've nurtured it. And then just my ability to connect, reflect on experience, and then articulate that experience to others led me down the path of coaching as well. And so the thing I would say is that throughout life and throughout my career, I was always looked at as a mentor or coach. And it used to get on my nerves because I was
Mm-hmm.
like, well, who the fuck's going to help me out? And once I kind of got rid of those insecurities, I recognized that that was my gift. And so being a coach, being a speaker, is me actually living my potential. It is me living my gift and allowing it to bloom. So um, I know that I'm doing the thing that I'm supposed to be doing.
So, can we dig a bit deeper into like how you figured that out and how like your 20 years in corporate and how did you like understand that things were built out of fear and how are you able to like pluck the weeds?
Um, so I say before there's anything else, there's discipline. And so many of us recognize that the body is the mind.
Mm-hmm.
And so we take a lot of prideful or a lot of pride in developing our mindset. And so, I was 18 or 19 years old riding around in my Mustang with two 12s in the back. And when it wasn't Milli Vanilli, because I'm old as fuck, right? It was Tony Robbins cassettes. That's
Mm-hmm.
how, right? And so I'd always had this mindset thing, and I always just really spent time on developing that mindset and becoming mentally tough and becoming disciplined to just work harder and longer than anyone else. And a few years ago, about 4 years ago, really, I was just digging for more and more and more. And, I got to the point where, all the big 10X guys and all the big entrepreneurs and all the big influencers were talking about, hey, coaching this, coaching that. So I was like, okay, I guess I need a coach. And so I went in search of a coach to help me become more successful. And what I found was a coach that taught me the beauty and the gift of breath. And so for the last 4 years, I've been all in on recognizing and learning how to use and articulate breath, how to tap into meditative states where I can go beyond the mindset. So now I've been able to go to the heart set, the emotion set.
Mm-hmm.
And what we forget is that the mind is a product of the emotion. And so the way that we feel is the way that we think. But before there's that, there's breath. And the way that we breathe is the way that we feel, and the way that we think, and the way we act, and the way that we speak, and the way that we do in our reality. So for me, it was just recognizing that that had to be a huge pillar for me.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's actually become the thing that, I would consider myself a SME on, right? A subject matter expert. Um, so just pushing for all that throughout the years, now I can go back and recognize where, people came to me. So I knew I was a coach. I knew I was a teacher, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would be able to help people work through things. I always found myself fighting for the misfits or the underdog, right? The bad news bears. And so recognizing all those things now, when I fought those things and ran away from those things in the past, has led me to a place where, again, I got to that knowing. And I believe there's so many of us. I'm 47 years old. So every 47-year-old out there has experience.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not experience. It's what you do with the experience and the ability to reflect and contemplate that experience. And so what I've been able to do is go back and reflect, contemplate, and learn lessons from even past experiences that were 10, 20 years ago. And just going through my own journey of healing those emotional wounds, it's really freed up a lot of energy. It's really freed up a lot of space, and that's allowed me to go be more creative. It's allowed me to go express myself more. It's allowed me to go be more of who I'm meant to be versus the idea of whatever I thought success was before.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for sharing that. I feel like people talk about how like you learn from your experiences, but I feel like not a lot of people will tell you like this is how you actually learn and how you actually heal or how you move forward. So I appreciate you sharing.
Absolutely.
Um, could you talk a bit about from those experiences and now that you like took that leap out of corporate, a little bit about your goals of like what you want to do now and your
It's
like
a great question.
entrepreneurship? Yeah, or just like
Yeah,
I guess you said
that's
you
a
want to
great
help
question.
people, so
Yeah, that's a great question. So, for me, it's about how do we all go find that thing within us? Because the thing that I know is that when we all live our gift and when we all live our seed, then we are the best version of us. And so for me, I would say if you looked at my business model right now,
Mhm.
the number one thing that I am driving towards is community. So my team and I, we've put together a Facebook group, we've put together a tribe, and it's really a spot where we can filter all the noise and get through all the clicks by
Mhm.
moving to one button, and that button takes us into a community that's based in love.
Mhm.
I eat my own dog food, right? Remember, I said I want to lead and love, and that community is just a place where we can remove the noise and show up to support each other. Because right now, our beliefs and our rules are being challenged, and so the reason I want to provide that space is for those that want that community, and then I'm also providing a container for those that really want to deep dive into that,
Mhm.
right? And so my number one goal right now is how do we get more people in that community and spread more love? Beyond that, when you look at the business ladder, if you will, I do have some goals, some very aggressive goals of being on some big stages for the remainder of the year.
Mhm.
The goals just come and they literally get crushed as fast as they show up, right? Earlier a few months ago, if even, I told the team, hey, I want more TV and media, I want print, and literally within
Mhm.
24 hours, I want TV. And although I was scheduled to be on a TV show starting filming in like 2 weeks, it got postponed. I ended up on the 5 o'clock news.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
you'd asked earlier, how do you know? Well, now I simply know because I've surrendered and I'm not married to what the outcome is. So when you talk about the goals, I have big goals, but I'm not married to the expectation. So my TV appearance was on the 5 o'clock news in talking about racism.
Mhm.
And so for me, like I said, I've always been the one to fight for the underdog. I've always been the one that's been on, the bad news bears team. And so I just see that as just part of my journey. I see that as part of my own healing. And the thing that I know is that when we heal, we allow others to heal. So collectively, there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of sadness, there's a lot of anger, there's a lot of shadows just coming to the surface right now. And this is just me doing my part to help with that collective healing, right? Because I know that if I can heal, you can heal. And if you can heal, we can heal. And if we can heal, all of us can heal. And so my number one goal is how do we shed more light? How do we listen? We're all aware. We're
Mhm.
all aware. There's a lot more aware people in the world today, a lot more woke people. But woke ain't shit if you can't reflect on that. Woke ain't shit if you can't contemplate and take a lesson away. So a lot of us are woke, but we're living in fear and then we're stuck. And so for me, my goal is how do I empower and enable people to take action?
Mhm.
And more importantly, what action? Because as much as we're aware, I also recognize that we just don't know, especially in the climate that we have today. There's so much fear, there's so much anxiety, it's overwhelming, right? So the goal is how do we empower people to take control and follow their own rules, follow their own beliefs? Three questions every day. Who am I? How do I choose to show myself to the world? And how do I know my rules and my beliefs are my own? And every day, if you can have that same inner dialogue and you can answer that in your truth, then it doesn't matter what's going on. And then we all shine, and we all shine so bright that at the end of the day, we're just right back to this collective, beautiful, loving source.
You're amazing. Thank you for sharing. You actually kind of answered my next question because, well, I was going to ask for people watching and who will watch this, like if you want to start on this, I don't want to say this journey of healing, but or in reflection, like what is maybe the first thing that you would do, or something that somebody could do tomorrow and start like just a little bit day by day.
First thing you could do is literally right now stop, get still, take a really deep breath. Follow with me. Ready? We're going to
Mm-hmm.
inhale for 5 seconds. We're going to exhale for 5 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Go. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Open your eyes. How's that?
I feel good.
Right? So the first thing we can do is take 1 minute. We have 86,400 seconds for the day. Just give yourself 60 seconds to do that 6 times. Japanese studies show that 6 times is a magic number because that gives you 6 breaths per minute. You and I typically breathe 12 to 25 per minute.
Mm.
So you slow it down to 6 breaths per minute, you automatically have a state shift. Why? You've activated the vagus nerve, which is responsible for releasing the calming chemicals in your body. So you want to
Mm.
have that shift, take 1 minute, breathe 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out. When you're done with that, open your eyes and say out loud 1, 2, 3 things that you're grateful for in this moment. Because gratitude and anger, gratitude and sadness, gratitude and anything else that's on the flip side of it cannot exist in the same breath. So now you've given yourself a minute, now you're grateful, and I guarantee that you're well on your way at that point.
Thank you for doing that exercise with me and just sharing all your wisdom. And I really appreciate you, Dylan.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Love you, love you,
So,
love you. You're amazing.
love you. I'm going to ask you one last question, and I promise we're done.
Yes. No,
Um,
we're good.
what is, and I know you've given us a lot of like advice and the breath work, but just looking back on all of your experiences, maybe what is something that you would want to go back and tell 19-year-old Diamond? What is like a piece of advice that you would want to give to people today or
I
anything of that
would,
sort?
so I would pass and I would give it to someone else. Um, I wouldn't say anything to him.
Mm.
I would let him have every experience that he chose to have because every experience and all of that has led to right now. And if I changed one thing, you and I would likely not be having this interaction right now. You and I would not be having this dialogue right now. And everything is exactly as it should be in this moment. So I would actually pass on that.
Awesome. Is there anything that you would want to just share with people today? Like if you were talking
Yes,
to maybe somebody who like just graduated
yes,
or your son or something like that.
yes. Allow yourself to fuck up.
Hmm.
The more that you take yourself less seriously, the more fun you'll have, the more life will bear fruit for you. Um, we're all fucked up. We've all got trauma. We've all got shadows. And the game here, when we chose to come into this existence, is to simply heal those shadows.
Hmm.
And when we heal those shadows, when we heal those wounds, when we heal those traumas, then we can flourish. So you know what? Lean into those. Don't judge yourself. Be easy. Allow yourself to fuck up. You're a fuck up. I'm a fuck up. We're all fuck ups. Now it's out of the way. Good. Go have fun. Because when you have fun, life gives you more fun to be had.
Perfect.